Hey guys, happy Tuesday. Welcome to the TED Show. Today's Tuesday, February 5th. My wife reminded me this is my 30th anniversary of our dating. So I had to give a shout out. Our Saturday is our 28th wedding anniversary. Girls like to track dating dates, and so I have to be reminded occasionally about the dating date. So I am with my friends Renee Kirwan and Chris Charman from Norml, Orlando. Welcome them. So Ben Gilbert's on, Susie Parker, give us a thumbs up. Let us know you can hear us or see us because we've got a rock and rollin' show with the two of these wonderful people today. So we got some thumbs up. I'm excited to have you. We have a big event on Saturday we want to talk about too. But let's get the origin story. Let's figure out who Renee and Chris are and then how you got involved in Norml. So give us a little bit, Renee. We'll start with you.
Thanks for having us, Ted.
You're welcome.
It means a lot because to me, we have cannabis heroes out there right now, and I consider Ted to be number one on the list. You know, I guess I will start with saying my route has always been alternative medicine. You know, I love Chinese medicine. I study that extensively, Ayurvedic, clean eating, and herbs, both Eastern and Western. But it really wasn't until about 5 years ago. Unfortunately, I had a really bad horse accident, a bad fall. And, you know, my right hip was just a mess. The IT band was compressed. And, you know, even though I'm the daughter of a physician, I'm not on any medication. I try to avoid it. Of course, you know, if I break something, I want to go to the emergency room.
Sure.
I believe in Western medicine, by all means, but I'm not a pill taker. So I was really not left with any options after a couple cortisone shots, and unfortunately getting in and out of a chair, you know, I'm 53, I felt like...
You're 53?
Really? I am.
God,
yes, and proud of it.
Does cannabis make you that young? I need to start slathering in that.
It does. We have products, but no, I just, you know, getting in and out of the chair was painful. I love to work out. I'm very active outside, and you know, all of a sudden my life became very small and very limited. So lo and behold, someone recommended medical marijuana, and it has been a game changer for me. I mean, unlike pills that oftentimes create more and more and more side effects, all of a sudden I'm walking and I'm feeling good, and I hadn't slept for 5 years. You know, when you're in pain and you're laying on your side at night, you're just flipping and flopping. So after feeling as good as I did for as long as I have now being on medical marijuana, I just feel like I need to shout it from the rooftops. And so that's kind of why we're here today. And
I'm excited. So real quick question before we get to Chris. So I think a lot of people have that same testimony that you do. They decided they got recommended to do medical marijuana.
Yes.
And then they couldn't believe, I've never heard anybody say it didn't work for me. And so I love the fact that it is becoming more mainstream, which I want to talk about. I mean, it should be mainstream, in my opinion, across. Nobody should be in jail for marijuana, but that's a whole nother discussion.
Absolutely.
We'll touch on that.
We'll touch on that. All right, so we're going to go to Chris Charman. Hi, Chris.
Hi. How's everybody out there?
Welcome to the show. So tell us a little bit about you.
Again, well, thank you, Ted. It's great to be here with you. My experience with cannabis was I wanted to get rid of these. You know, I was just very tired of having one. I haven't got rid of them yet, but I'm working on it. I wanted to get contact lenses. So Renee referred me to her ophthalmologist, and he gave me probably the most extensive eye exam that I've ever had. I thought I was on the Starship Enterprise. And I saw my optic disc in stadium size. I was looking at my retina in real time. And as the interview went on, he asked me if there was any glaucoma in my family. And of course I said no. And then he just slapped me across the face and said, well, there is now.
Wow.
So my intraocular pressure was very high. He was concerned, and of course I was too. And my question is, what do I do next? And he said, well, we have options. And one of them was to take a laser and to burn holes in my eyes. Or I could look at medical marijuana. It's one of the qualifying conditions that the state of Florida allows you to utilize medical marijuana. So laser or medical marijuana, the choice was easy.
That's awesome that you were with a physician that was forward thinking enough, because just because it's here doesn't mean the physicians community, the medical community, has been 100% accepting of it.
Agreed. Most of the medical community doesn't understand, well, I shouldn't say they don't understand, more and more are becoming educated, but If you would have asked 10 years ago, 99% of the physicians what the endocannabinoid system is, they would have a blank look on their face. But we've come to realize that the endocannabinoid system in your body is the largest receptor system, bar none, in your body. So the benefits are so far-reaching. When you said, I've never heard anybody say it didn't work for me, well, there's a reason for that. It will work for everybody. It's just, what is it that you needed to work on?
So that's where, so you both had something in your lives, and it became sort of a catalyst, maybe not the only one, but certainly you decided, all right, I want to shout it out, I want to talk about it, I want to be a proponent, somebody who speaks out, so that people are educated about it instead of us still living in the pill world. So how did you get involved with Norml? And talk about Norml, what that means, what that stands for.
What is Norml? Who is Norml?
Yes.
Absolutely. Well, I'll let Chris go into more detail on that, but I agree with you on the stigma first and foremost, and that's where I'm really involved, because I figure if I'm willing to put myself out there, you're willing to put yourself out there, more and more people will educate themselves and not just hear the rumors, pro and con, but do the research yourself. There's plenty of research out there now. Fortunately, even though still a Schedule I, and we'll ferret that out, that's what Norml's working on, but we have human clinical trials, and I think the science behind it and the explanation of the endocannabinoid system will help people understand, and if they choose to go down that route and explore cannabis, they'll see that unlike some pills that unfortunately you take a pill, you create more symptoms, more side effects.
Right.
With cannabis, I found, wow, here I'm taking this cannabis and all of a sudden my pain feels better, I can sleep at night, I have more focus during the day, more motivation. I'm not sitting at home smoking up a storm.
Well, I think a lot of times people
kids.
have this perception, right? So I'm old enough to remember Fast Times at Ridgemont High. So I have that perception of Spicoli and his friends pouring out of the van, reeking of smoke, and it's not like that. That's not what it's about, and I think that stigma was created. We could have a whole show about why that stigma was created and why we've been fighting to get marijuana off that list for so long.
Right.
But I think that the world has painted it in the wrong way. Mark Plyder says, hi, Renee.
Hi, Mark.
Just want to, and hi, everybody who said hi. I'm sorry. No, it's okay. My contacts are working today, so we're in good shape. All right, so talk about Norml. What is Norml, and what is Norml Orlando? What is the vision? And then we'll get to the event.
The politics of cannabis.
The politics of cannabis.
So point right at me, right? Norml was founded in 1970. It's a national organization for the reform of marijuana laws. It was formed by a gentleman named Keith Stroop and some of his other stoner friends, because they started it actually as, they were individuals that enjoyed to smoke marijuana. But they recognized that it had to be handled in an adult and responsible way, and not everyone was going to embrace it. They thought that within a few short years, they would have enough go power to change the laws.
By about 1973, they thought this whole issue would be wrapped up.
I didn't know Norml had been around though.
It's the longest lasting organization for the reform of laws, and it was actually funded by Hugh Hefner and Playboy Enterprises with a $5,000 initial.
Nice, that's awesome.
It was given to Keith, and they ran with it.
Can't imagine those early years of them having to. It was so overwhelmingly, people just thought it was horrible.
Right.
And they didn't look at it from the medical standpoint back then. They were just looking at it from recreational use. And they equate it today, too. There are bills being introduced that they want to handle the marijuana situation the same way they handle alcohol, which has its pros and cons, but you really have to look at it as it's a choice. It's not one of those. They shouldn't be federally regulated and say you can't do this. Well, then you've got to take away cigarettes. You've got to take away alcohol. Any other legal recreation out there should be constitutionally erased as well, because it is a constitutional issue. When you really boil it down to the basic facts of it, it's your right.
Right.
And I can go on and on about scheduling, and it's a Schedule I drug. And
talk about Norml itself. Like, what is the? I know why it was. Now I understand why it was founded, and we know what it stands for. What is Norml doing now in our community? What's the goal, the mission?
I think Well, to just give a little bit of a backdrop and figure out why Chris and I are here today, talking specifically about Norml of Greater Orlando, is, we both came together. Obviously, we're now pro-cannabis, and we're seeing all the many different benefits. We see that there's still stigma out there, and we're wanting to educate. So
why is there still stigma out there? What do you face? Do you face that people just think, like I did a show, and I'm not mentioning names. I hope you guys don't either, because that one went viral. You could if you wanted, but I had somebody say that marijuana was a gateway drug.
Yes.
And so those kinds of stigmas really do still exist out there, and I can't figure out where that is coming from.
Well, our generation, that's what we were told.
Right.
I mean, and I'm all about responsible use and the therapeutic benefits. Keep going back to the therapeutic benefits. But were it not for groups like Norml, we wouldn't have that medical marijuana available to us today. So really, what Norml's about and why we're here as Norml of Greater Orlando is to let you know that it's the people that are speaking, that over 70%, our new governments, our new governor's really helping. So Robert Roundtree's on our advisory board. We love Robert.
We love
He
Robert.
did an excellent job.
Right on.
But it's working with the politicians to make the changes we need to make.
And and are you feeling like the politicians are lightening up, especially in Florida? Because what happens, I know, is because it's not federally approved, everybody has this question about how do you travel with it? What can you bring? What can't you bring? Just because you're going to coming from a destination that allows it completely open, and you're going to one that doesn't, how does that work? But I feel like politicians are at least listening.
And they're
now.
being held accountable.
Yeah.
I mean, Norml, absolutely. We went up to Washington, D.C., and I'm going to, again, turn it over to Chris, because he's really well-versed in the nitty-gritty and the bills and all that. But I can tell you, when we went up to Washington, D.C. and met with, our politicians, it was enlightening. But they're not off the hook anymore. They actually receive a grade as to where they stand on the cannabis issues, and none of this running out, to take a potty break when we're going to vote.
Right,
So it's good that we're to that point, I would say.
I would agree with Renee in the fact that politicians have to listen because their constituents are banging their doors down. It's a voting body that they recognize. Just recently, our newly appointed governor, DeSantis, recognized the fact that there really is no difference between inhalation of a vaping system to get your THC and CBD or to smoke the plant. What is different about that is the plant itself, in its entire form, gives you the greatest therapeutic benefit. The entourage system with the THC, the multiple CBDs, and the terpenes within that plant, it's nearly 425 chemicals in that plant that work together as a unit. And that's what one of the bills that has just been issued forth was, let's let people smoke the plant. They're not saying it's going to be recreational use. It's, again, aligned with medical marijuana. But yes, politicians are easing up. You'll find that it's more on the Democratic side, although there are a couple of Republicans that are recognizing it in fact as well. Nationally, there are 5 very strong politicians in the House of Representatives that are very pro-cannabis and pro-change and pro-legalization and pro. You'll find that most of them are from states that already have legalization.
Sure.
Oregon, California, Colorado, Washington. And then there's we were talking about the federal sector. Yes, the Fed still says it's illegal, and there are reasons for that. They're not highly motivated to change that because yearly there are 600,000 people incarcerated for marijuana infractions. And if you look at it a little deeper, you'll see that most of the prison system is now privatized.
Right.
Yeah.
And there's huge amounts of lobbying dollars that go to politicians to keep those laws in place because it is all about profit, dollars, and cents. They don't want those laws changed, and as long as they're being fed enormous sums of money, they'll keep those laws in place, or they'll fight to keep them in place. It's a very easy equation once you pierce the veil.
Well, it used to be that thought process was looked at as conspiracy theory. Oh my God, our government would never do that to us. But I believe in the era of social media there's all of this immediate accountability and
Absolutely.
information, and it's pushed the envelope so much further. And I listen to you now and I'm like, that's exactly what's going on.
That's exactly
it's
what's
not
going
a conspiracy theory. It's not the stuff that myths are made up
Totally
of.
transparent now, Ted.
That's what's happening. And so I love that. And what is Norml Greater Orlando? Why did you want to have a Greater Orlando chapter, right? Chapter as well.
Right. Well, there's a lot of wonderful people involved in the Norml organization, and we really wanted to have a voice here in Greater Orlando. I think it's important that, there are several chapters throughout the state that, we talk to our local politicians, that we have a presence up in Tallahassee. We want to move this issue forward. I want anyone that needs cannabis for therapeutic medicine to have that right. And, I think it's important that we're
keep
pioneers,
educating.
I
You
guess.
are
We're
pioneers. Oh,
and it's
popped
people
on.
like you, Ted, willing to have us on and explain the importance of freedom. And again, we feel it's a human rights issue, and that's why we're having our big event this Friday. And we hope everyone
So I
can
want to
come
talk
out.
about the event, but I also want to. I think people think that because medical marijuana is now legal in the state of Florida, that there are no parameters. And there are still children especially who don't have access to it because they don't fit whatever's been defined as the medical conditions that could be approved for that. So just because you're hearing, yes, we've made progress, but hey, Chris, yes, we've made progress, but that doesn't mean that we don't have a lot of work to still do. We still have so much to do.
Let me review so everyone understands what the qualifying conditions are. Now, I know them, but I'd rather just read it off because it comes out a little clearer, and we're a bit pressed for time. But your qualifying conditions under Chapter 381 are thus: cancer, epilepsy, glaucoma, positive status for human immunodeficiency virus, HIV, AIDS, the actual disease of AIDS, post-traumatic stress disorder, ALS, Lou Gehrig's disease, Crohn's syndrome, Parkinson's disease, multiple sclerosis, medical conditions of the same kind or class enumerated in those paragraphs, a terminal condition diagnosed by a physician. Now, a terminal condition means that they assume that within a year that you're going to pass from this condition.
Wow.
And chronic non-malignant pain. Now, you mentioned children. There are ways for children, if they qualify, and most of them qualify under epilepsy or some sort of other an offshoot of epilepsy, something similar that they have to go through a series of seizures. If you're a caregiver, you can apply on behalf of that child or minor for the medicine.
Right.
And generally, children don't vape. It's either sublingual or a transdermal, or there are pills. There are other ways other than inhalation.
And science needs to catch up. So
Science
as
definitely needs to catch up.
Get more information, because to me it's all about, yes, there are certain strains that are better suited for certain conditions, but it's important too, the dosing. If I'm going to be involved in recommending cannabis to a senior, let's say, they might need to start at a much lower dose than, let's say, someone who's had experience smoking the plant before.
Correct.
Or whatever their method is. So that's also an important
And
point.
so the education of everyone
Absolutely.
involved in the distribution and the medical field especially, we have to catch up. And I think some of that does come from fear. There's fear of the
tremendous
stigma,
fear.
but there's also fear of not dosing properly. I've heard that from some physicians that are friends of mine. They're like, we believe in it, but we don't have the education yet. And the AMA hasn't been exactly overwhelmingly education-driven.
Yeah.
And we needed to educate
And
ourselves.
the stigma is not just with the individuals. The stigma, and I won't call it a stigma, but it's really a blocking. Western medicine doesn't heal. What they do is they manage symptoms, and so does Big Pharma. Big Pharma is scared to death of cannabis. Because if you take away the huge profits that they get by keeping you on opiates, opioids, amphetamines, the whole range of
So
what's
true.
They get a lot of money from that, and they won't make any kind of money if we replace those drugs. And they're just maintenance drugs. They're dangerous drugs. And unfortunately, marijuana is still scheduled as a Schedule I drug, which shows that it has no medical use whatsoever.
There's some hypocrisy.
I mean, it's
there.
just
Heroin,
it makes me
cocaine,
crazy.
LSD. Well, cocaine's a Schedule 2. But even the Schedule 2s, all the opiates are Schedule 2s. So you really have to not move this down into a schedule of the 5 schedules. You just have to remove it.
Right, just
Recognize
remove
the
it.
fact of what it is.
Right.
I wanted to touch on one other thing that you'd said, why Orlando Norml. Every part of the state has a different mentality. It's, the world of the Panhandle is different than Jacksonville. Jacksonville's different than Miami. You can see that Orlando is a more progressive area. We're more liberal, we're more open, and I don't think that there's been enough education here in this area, so we're bringing it out to them to let them know, and I believe that they'll spread the word quickly because of the mentality, of the population here.
Yeah.
I agree. All right, so
Education and information, but we needed to educate ourselves first. So we
Very
headed over
true.
to our current director, Patrick, and he has learned sativa, and we literally sat in the classroom and learned everything there is to learn about marijuana. And it was really, really enlightening. And it was from there that we kind of got immersed in this, what they call the cannabis space. And you can see when you have all these people come up, because it's usually a last resort, conventional medicine has just not afforded them the relief or the cure that they need, and they're out. They don't know where to turn. So typically, those are the people that I get after I speak about cannabis and the cannabis lifestyle. So we want people to know that there are routes of information. We're here to help, and that's what Norml's about. We're going to push this issue forward and make it available to anyone who needs it.
So talk about February 8th, which is backwards to them. That's
Friday.
Friday, 5:30
Cafe.
at Ace Cafe downtown. Great parking there, so don't worry about downtown when you're there. What is February 8th? I love a Kill the Stigma event is what the flyer here says, which is awesome. What do you want to accomplish, and give them a little details about what's going to go on the 8th?
Well, we're going to have all kinds of, all the dispensaries, I believe, will be represented, and we'll have vendors. It's just a really neat networking opportunity. So we invite everyone to come on in, see what we're about. We hope to sign up a lot of volunteers. We need your support. We really, if you are pro-cannabis, if you're curious about cannabis, come on down. We'd love to have you.
We're a nonprofit organization, and so are all the Norml chapters across the country, including the parent chapter in Washington, D.C. So the way we operate is, generally I take a lot of money out of my pocket, and so the rest of the directors, and
It's like a 501c3 to me.
We're actually a C4 that gives us political action,
Nice.
the ability to be an active political group. But to get the same tax benefits, not that we make a lot of money and have to worry about it. We don't take salaries. We don't profit in any way, shape, or form from the organization. What we do is we take the money and we put it into education materials. We have events like this. This event is our kickoff event. It's our first event, and it's let's get together, like-minded people, and hopefully your like-minded people will bring people in that don't understand. We want more and more. We want the sphere of influence to grow so that people understand it as medicine. We're not just out there trying to promote the recreational use. We want everybody to understand the power of the plant, and it is an extremely.
I like that, the power of the plant.
I would like to just say one thing that kind of brings us together. I have my father's 89 years old.
Touches, yeah.
He's a phenomenal man, and to know him is to love him. And
he broke his back last year, and essentially it left him bedridden. Spent 12 weeks in rehab. They put him on opiates. They put him on fentanyl patches. Essentially turned him into a zombie. I have him on CBD. He's now. It's not 100%.
And so, real quick, for those who don't know what
75%.
CBD is, that does not have the THC component.
Correct.
It's cannabidiol. It's, as Renee said, it's a non-THC component. He's up, he's moving, he's taking care of his wife. It's great.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
Chris.
it really is.
That's it's life changing. I have not, I'm telling you that from the stories I know, from the people I know that are close to me, that have it and can speak about it and get so emotional about it because it's made such an impact on their lives and the lives of their family members and friends. And that's what this education is about, to get rid of the stigma around it so that we can all accept it and embrace it rather than think of it as the 1950s through the 70s where everybody just thought it was a stoner party, the hippies, the beatniks, the druggies.
Precisely.
It's not like that.
Exactly.
It's not like that. So is there a cost to go on Friday?
No, it's
Absolutely
free.
free.
Do we have to
And
register or you
won't-
just show up?
We asked the public to show up, and if they would just sign the sheet that said they were there so we can get some information. And what we're looking for is you can join Norml, $35. You get a kind of a cool T-shirt.
That's
and then
awesome.
you get all the information real time. As we get it, it gets distributed out to you via social media, email, blast. And it's every day I get something from National Norml. There's something that comes out from every state, national.
Real time, it's very current, up to date, exactly what's going on, and we just really wanted to thank you, Ted, because
Thank you.
again, mainstream, get the public out and really understand this beautiful plant and what it has to offer all of us. Remove the stigma and have a good time at the same time.
So 5:30
Yes.
this Friday, February 8th at Ace Cafe downtown.
Thank you, Ace.
Don't,
too.
oh yeah, big shout out to
Yeah.
Ace. Don't think that it's because it's downtown, you're gonna have a parking issue. They
Huge
have a
parking
huge
lot.
parking lot. Believe me, that is one of the easiest places to park downtown is Ace Cafe. And it's such a big, wonderful location. I can't wait to, I'll be there.
We've got a lot of vendors coming, and vendors we asked to register, or you can contact us, reach out to me, call me directly, 386-747-1686, and then we'll figure out, for last minute. But we have some very strong sponsors coming in. We have Marijuana Doctor.
That's awesome.
They're great. They're the largest medical marijuana company in the state of Florida, growing. We actually have a company called Mission Leaf. Renee and I started a company where what we do is we go out to underserved areas of Florida, over 55 communities, with a mobile medical marijuana doctor's office.
Progressive, yes.
I like it.
Progressive, little professional. But I also wanted to just quickly thank the board. We are new. We're getting our feet wet at this point. But were it not for people like Learn Sativa, Patrick, Jonathan Byron, Kat Amola, yay Kat. I know she loves you, you love her. And we've worked very, very hard to make this event happen. And we just really appreciate the opportunity.
I'm
to come on
so
and talk about
excited.
it.
You already have, like, Shirley wants to be a vendor. So we're going to
Yay!
share all of their
Thank you.
contact information. I'll send you a copy of this flyer. I'll send you the link. We're going to
you.
post all of that after the show, which I'm really excited about. All right, any parting words of wisdom, anything you want to leave them with, other than go to the event on February 8th. You're going to love it. You're going to have a great time, and you're going to learn a lot.
And I think you'll be surprised, what you see and who you meet. There may be some surprise guests. We're still working on that, but come out. Just come out.
Grab a friend.
Grab a friend.
I'd love to
grab,
meet.
grab everybody.
Yeah, love to meet all of you.
All right, so Friday, February 8th, this Friday, 5:30,
5:30.
Ace Cafe. You guys are a joy.
Thank
you
you.
so much for sharing your story. That's what it's all about right there.
Thank you,
That's
everyone.
what it's all about. We love you guys. We'll see you soon.